God himself is the safe base. Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group. This is part number 2 of our 5-part series on how the Lord hears and delivers. Today, we're going to look at how the book of Psalms paints God as a refuge. But when I think about a refuge, when I think about a safe place, I want us to think about a game of tag. But before we go there, I want to thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video and pass it on to someone else so that they can know that they can get to base safe with God. What I mean by safe to base with God, you remember growing up and we used to play games of tag and all the different kind of variations. And you know how when you're playing tag, one of the things that you have to have is a base. Otherwise, you're just running around endlessly. And I know children, we can do that. But the point of the base is that when I touch base or when I get to base, you can't touch me. I have a measure of immunity. There's a level of infallibility, not in me as a player, but because of my position in relationship to the base. God is that base. Our power is not in our ability to play. I know that we can spend a long time in life thinking that, but the Psalm is teaching us that we have a base in God, and because of him, we can be safe. In Psalm 91 verse 1, it says, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." In order to be under the shadow of the Almighty, we need to be at base. We can't be in the shadow of something that we're not near. And being able to know that we can hide in God, but not just hide in God in the sense that I'm running from the enemy, but even when the enemy sees me, even if the enemy finds me, like in a game of tag, when my opponent sees me, if I can get to base before they can get to me, I'm untouchable. We're untouchable in the secret place. That's what Psalm 91 calls the safe base. But it doesn't stop there. Psalm 91 verse 2 and 4 says, "I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God. In him will I trust. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler." I will say of the Lord that he is my refuge, he is my fortress, and then notice that semicolon. It just wraps it up. My God. This is the joy of being a Christian. This is why it pays to surrender and to trust that we're not here by accident and we're not just living by incident, but we are here by intent and design. That God says that I will be your fortress. I will be your refuge. We're not responsible for our own abiding. We're responsible for choosing where we abide. So we choose to be homeless or we choose to be holy. And being holy is making the decision, not just in terms of how we live, but where we live. I'm living under the shadow of God and not under the shadow of doubt. But now I'm in the light of a deliverance that Psalms 91 verse 9 to 10 says, "Because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High thy habitation, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling." Nigh thy dwelling. For so long, I thought that this just meant that because I'm a believer, or if I'm a Christian, that no trouble or terror or trials will come to my house. But when I recognize that the context of Psalm 91 verse 10 is talking about not our home dwelling, not your address, not your dorm, not a tent, but it's assuming that by now, if you've read all the way to Psalm 91 verse 10, your dwelling is where? In the secret place of the Most High God. Our dwelling is in our refuge and our fortress. Our dwelling is in God. And that's why the ministry of Christ that opens up the door of God's heart. That's why the ministry of our high priest that atones for our sin that would and should keep us out of God, it actually draws us into God now. Where it says there that no evil shall befall thee, it doesn't mean that evil does not happen around us. It doesn't mean it doesn't rain. What it's saying is that we've got a measure of an umbrella that allows us to not just survive, but even to thrive in the midst of the befalling, in the midst of the terror, in the midst of the trouble, because we're on base. We can play the game, we can win the game, but remember, we don't win it by how fast we run from our enemy. We win it by who we run to from our enemy. the safe base.